Heya, heya, see below. Heya, heya, storm wind blow.
Chapter 14. The Storm Road. Senara knew the storm had teeth before the rain arrived. Bodies knew weather before songs dressed it up. The lead ship rose wrong beneath her feet. Not high yet, not violently wrong. A hidden shoulder under the hull, lifting from an angle the sea had no practice keeping. The air pressed warm along her left cheek and cold along her right. The wounded began to breathe badly. That was always the first honest sign. A man with a split scalp stopped cursing and swallowed twice. A girl with 2 broken fingers began to cry again after half an hour of silence. Mira, the pregnant woman near the stern, put one hand beneath her belly and the other against the deck, feeling for the ship's next lie. 3 children tied near the food bundles went green from more than fear. Lapo stood beside the medicine chest with a cracked slate in one hand, and Reva's food bundle still tied shut at his hip. He had not eaten, of course. "Bucket," Senara said. He blinked salt from his lashes. "What now?" Lapo shoved the slate under his arm, grabbed a pitch bucket, and reached the smallest child before the boy vomited onto the deck. The child sobbed afterward, humiliated and motherless on this ship. Lapo crouched behind him, one hand between the boy's shoulders, the other holding the bucket steady. "Breathe through your nose," Lapo said. "Do not look at the water. Look at my hand." The boy looked. Good. Lapo still knew how to help when the work was small enough to fit in his hands. Behind them, Vadruk's blood spread in dark sheets over the water where the crownback had withdrawn. The more deep thing had taken one guideboat whole, crushed an outrider, broken another, and left the fleet limping east under a sky darkening too fast. Tavaro had vanished beneath the surface with him. Then Tavaro had surfaced far behind on a spar, or Senara thought he had. Rain, haze, and distance could turn any wreckage into a man if the heart was stupid enough. She did not call his name. There were too many living people within reach. "Count," she said. Lapo looked up from the vomiting child. "Ships first," he swallowed. "Lead hull afloat. Second deep hull damaged, taking water slowly. Third deep hull afloat. Stern rail broken. 5 outriders in line. 1 outrider lost. 1 broken, crew taken aboard. 1 guideboat gone. 1 guideboat under tow. Cutter afloat. People? Too soon. Then count too soon." His face tightened. "Senara, bodies now. Names after." That hurt him. She saw it. He nodded anyway, and stood. That was what grief did when given work. It did not become smaller. It became able to move from one foot to the next. Maru came down from the stern, one side of her headcloth soaked dark, where the old wound had opened again. She did not seem to have noticed, or she had noticed and ranked it lower than steering. "Storm before the next bell," Maru said. Before, Maru glanced at the sky. Thunder moved inside the black wall ahead of them, lightless and broad. The clouds had the low, swollen look of fevered flesh. Maru spat over the side. "Rude water. Can we turn?" "Not cleanly. Plain. If we turn west, we bunch the hulls. If we turn north, the third deep hull loses us. If we turn south, the cutter gets eaten by weather or itself. East is ugly, and ugly is floating." Senara nodded. Maru started back toward the stern. "Your head," Senara said. "It is attached, for now. Then it can wait." "No." Maru stopped. Senara pointed to a coil of rope near the mast. "Sit. I am steering." "Then bleed on the steering rail and blind one eye by dark." Maru stared at her. Senara stared back. Maru sat on the rope coil with the disgust of a woman yielding to weather. Senara unwound the old wrap, cleaned the cut with rainwater because boiled water was already gone to mouths and wounds, and bound the temple tighter. Maru hissed once. "Only once." "Better?" Senara asked. "Worse. It means I can feel it." "Good. Feeling keeps you honest. Honest Captains drown. Then lie after you steer. Maru stood before the knot was finished. Senara caught the cloth and tied it, while walking 2 steps behind her. Hold still. The ship is moving. You making it harder. The sea began it. Senara pulled the knot flat. Maru grunted. That one holds. Try not to make me proud. Try not to stab anyone who needs steering. They parted. The wind shifted. The lead ship heeled. People screamed. Senara grabbed the mast line as the deck tilted beneath her. A water frame broke loose, despite the new lashings, and slid toward Mira. Lapo threw himself into its path. The frame struck his hip and knocked him sideways. He caught it with both arms and slammed it against the mast base. Riva was there an instant later. Hip? Fine. You say fine, like Tavaro. Lapo flinched. Riva's face tightened, but she did not take it back. Sit on it and pull. Standing pride is for people with spare bones. He dropped to one knee and helped lash the frame. The next wave struck. The bow punched through water instead of rising over it. A wall of sea crashed across the deck, chest high and cold enough to steal thought. Senara lost the mast line. Water took her feet. She hit the boards, slid, struck the medicine chest with her ribs, and tasted blood where her teeth cut her tongue. The rootstaff tore loose from its lash. Green flared through the wrapping as it skidded toward the broken rail. No, she lunged. Her fingers closed around wet cloth, an instant before the staff slid into open water. The ship rolled back. Senara slammed shoulder first into the rail post and held the staff against her chest. The green burned through the wrapping and into her palms. A vision opened. Not sleep, not fever. The storm thinned. She stood on red stone above a river mouth, wider than the inner harbor. Black trees rose inland. Birds with gold throats flashed through rain-sweet air. Lapo stood beside her, older by years, alive. Riva knelt in dark soil with both hands full of roots, and her face furious with hope. Oren stood beyond them, whole, one hand resting on the rootstaff. No, Senara dug her nails into the cloth. The vision changed. The lead ship broke in half. Lapo drowned with one hand reaching upward. The newborn sank in its basket. Maru's red storm cord drifted loose in black water. Riva screamed without sound, while rope slid through her palms and took skin with it. Tavaro hung far behind on a spar, too broken to fly. His face turned toward ships he could no longer reach. No, the vision changed again. A green road under the water, branching light through black sea. It curled east, then south, then down. It showed a seam between walls of storm, a place where ships could pass if they turned now. Full south. Now, trust. Senara opened her eyes. Rain, blood, ship, bodies. Lapo crawling toward her. Riva on the low line. Maru at the stern, with both feet braced, and one hand on the steering rail. Senara! Lapo shouted. What did it show? She looked south. Nothing. Grey water, black sky, a wave higher than the last. Maru's course held east by south. A body choice. Wind, hull, current, damage, spacing, known risks. The staff pressed the other way, full south. Senara staggered upright. Maru! The old captain turned. Hold course! Lapo reached her. It showed a road. It showed wanting. You do not know. No. Then why? Senara gripped the rail and hauled herself toward the mast. Because every clear answer it gives sounds like father. Lapo went white. Riva heard it. Her mouth opened, then closed around whatever softer thing a mother might have said. The storm struck first. Lightning split the sky. For one breath, the whole fleet appeared. Lead hull, battered and healing. Third deep hull, too far right, still there. 4 outriders, one upside down behind them. Cutter alive. Second deep hull behind and left, lower in the water than it should have been. Mast cracked. Deck crowded with people bailing. Alive. Then darkness slammed down again. Senara pointed. Second hull alive. Maru blew the horn. This time an answer came back, faint but real. Lapo made a sound that might have become prayer if he had trusted any god enough. Senara shoved the wrapped rootstaff into his hands. He froze. No. Hold the wood, she said. Do not call it. Do not listen to it. If it warms, tell me. His fingers closed around the wrapping. Green flared. Lapo's face opened with relief so raw that Senara nearly snatched the staff back. Then he shut his eyes. No, he whispered. The green dimmed. He looked at her, shaken. It knows my voice. Yes. It sounded like father. Yes. His mouth trembled. That is cruel. Yes. Reva stepped close enough to touch his back, but did not. Her hand hovered once, then dropped to the rope at his belt instead. She tightened the knot. Hold what you are holding, she said. Do not let it hold you. Lapo nodded. For one breath, the three of them stood together in rain. Brother, sister, mother, with the staff between them and no one letting it belong. Then Maru shouted, Wave! This one came from the east. Wrong direction. It rose out of rain. Black and wide. Not tall enough for legend. Tall enough to kill a ship that met it poorly. The fleet had no clean angle. The lead hull began to turn under Maru's orders. Slow. Too slow. Sailors hauled. Ropes screamed. The bow swung. Pull on count. Maru roared. Pull. Pull. The wave struck starboard front. Wood groaned. The whole ship lifted sideways. Senara lost sight of the deck. Her body became weight on rope and shoulder and hand. Lapo slammed into her. Reva caught a child by the back of the belt and hooked her own elbow through a mast line. The rootstaff struck Senara's thigh, hard enough to bruise. The ship crested, tilted, then dropped. For a breath, it did not right itself. Then the lead hull rolled back with a sound like an animal coughing up stones. People crashed to the boards. The mast held. A cheer tried to rise. It died when someone shouted from the stern, Man over. Then another voice. Two. Senara staggered to the rail. Rain blinded her. She wiped it away and saw one head in the water, then a hand, then nothing. Lines flew. One rope landed near the first head. The man missed it. His arm moved wrong. Shoulder broken, perhaps. Panic, certainly. A sailor tied a line around his own waist. No, Senara shouted. He jumped anywhere. Reva reached for her knife and found an empty belt. Her face changed. Not fear. Fury at herself. Knife. A child behind the crate barrier held up the shell-handled blade with both hands. Reva had stuck it into the crate wood while tying the children and forgotten it there. Reva snatched it, cut a spare line, and shoved it into Lapo's hands. Pull from your knees, Senara said. I can stand. Your hip says otherwise. Lapo dropped and hauled. The rope cut into his palms. Reva braced behind him and wrapped the line once around her own forearm. Not around flesh, Maru shouted. Reva unwound it at once and looped it around the mast ring instead. Maru gave no quip. Good. There was no room left for seasoning. The sailor in the water reached the first man and wrapped the line under his arms. The second person surfaced near the broken rail, a woman with hair plastered over her face. No rope near her. Senara looked for another line, none free. The rootstaff burned in Lapo's hands. He looked at her. She took it. This time, she did not loosen the cloth slowly. She drove the base of the staff into the deck and let green light surge. It flashed across the rail and over the water. The woman in the sea stopped thrashing. Her head turned toward the nearest floating plank. A child on deck screamed, Mother! The woman reached, missed, reached again, caught. Line! Senara shouted. Reva threw the cut rope. It fell short, then slid closer on the backwash. The woman grabbed it with one hand, lost it, grabbed again. The green light held her panic in place long enough for muscle to obey. Then the staff took its price. Senara's knees buckled. Lapo caught her under one arm. Not enough. Reva caught the other, shoulder hard under Senara's ribs. Breathe, Reva said, before the wood does it for you. Senara tried. Her mouth would not shape air. The world had gone thin at the edges. She felt each body on deck, as if each had placed a hand against her skin. vomiting child, pregnant woman, Maru's head wound, Lapo's hip, Reva's rope-burned palms, the man with the crushed shoulder, the newborn's tiny lungs, the woman in the water, the sailor hauling, too many pulses, too much breath to count. The staff wanted to count them for her, all of them, every living body in reach, bright and fragile, waiting for command. Senara almost let it. She had been counting bodies all her life. The staff offered to count perfectly. No missed pulse, no hidden fever, no child lost behind a water jar, no old man dying quietly while louder grief begged for care. Perfect medicine, perfect command, a beautiful lie. She pulled the staff from the deck. The green vanished. Her knees hit wood. Lapo knelt beside her. Senara? She found breath around the taste of blood. Water, she said. He reached for a cup. No. For them, he looked toward the rescued woman being dragged over the rail, coughing and vomiting sea. Yes, he went. Reva stayed crouched beside Senara for one breath longer, hand still at her back. Come back out of it, Reva said. I did. Do it again. Senara looked at her. Reva's hair had escaped its binding and stuck to her cheeks in wet coils. Her eyes were red. Her hands were steady again, because she had forced them to be. I am not losing you to wood tonight, Reva said. Senara nodded once. Reva stood and went back to the children. If Senara could still nod, she was not finished. The storm drove them for hours. Time lost clean edges. The sky remained black, though it should have been afternoon. Rain came sideways, then straight down, then sideways from the other direction, as if the storm had more than one mind and each hated sailors differently. The fleet broke apart by distance, came together by horn and luck, broke again. The third deep hull vanished twice. The second nearly sank once. The cutter lost its forward brace at last and survived through pure ugliness and 4 people with axes. Senara moved from wound to wound, split chin, tie it, crushed hand, splint it, do not promise fingers. Sailor vomiting blood after striking the rail. Watch the belly, keep him turn. If it hardens, he dies, unless the sea calms enough for cutting. The sea did not calm. Mira began bleeding. Not much. Enough. Senara knelt with rain running down her neck and placed one cracked hand under Mira's belly. Reva held Mira's shoulders from behind, mouth close to her ear. Stay with the breath, Reva said. Do not chase the fear. It runs faster. Mira sobbed. Is he alive? Senara waited. The child inside moved under her palm. Anger went through Senara so sharply she almost laughed. Life insisting on itself at the worst possible time. Yes, she said. Small movement. Strong enough. Mira cried harder. Reva pressed her cheek against the woman's wet hair. There. Hear that? Strong enough. Lapo worked beside Senara until his hands bled. He stopped asking what the rootstaff meant. He did not stop looking at it. Near what should have been evening, a boy on the stern rail shouted, Where is Tavaro? The name travelled across the deck. Not far. Far enough. A few heads turned toward the west, toward the grey wall where the battle with Vadruk had vanished. A sailor made the old Sulari sign. Another spat over the rail. One child asked, Is he coming? No one answered. Then Reva did. Not to this rope. Hands here. The child put both hands on the rope. Senara looked west once. Rain. Nothing but rain. She did not know whether Tavaro lived. She did not know whether he had drowned with Vadruk's blood still in his mouth. She did not know whether part of her wanted him to appear and take the storm in both hands, or whether the wanting itself was the old cage calling from inside her bones. She turned back to the man whose belly had hardened. Hold his shoulders, she told Lapo. He looked west, too. Lapo! He looked at her. Shoulders. He obeyed. She cut into the man with the smallest blade she had, opening only enough to drain what could be drained. The man screamed until Maru shoved a strip of sailcloth between his teeth and set one hand on his forehead. Bite that, not your tongue, Maru said. Tongues are needed for swearing. The ship lurched. Senara's knife slipped a finger width. She corrected. Breathing first, bleeding second, noise last. The man lived through the cut. Whether he would live through the night belonged to the next hour, and the next, and the next. When full dark came, the fleet finally broke. Senara heard it happen. Not wood first, horns. One horn to port, two to starboard. Then Maru's long call from the lead hull. Hold line, hold line, hold line. The answer from the second deep hull came late. The third did not answer. An outrider horn sounded from somewhere impossible. Too far south, another horn cried once and stopped mid-call. Maru's face went hard. Lead cannot turn for all. Senara wiped blood from her knife. Rain washed it from her fingers. Plain. If we chase one horn, we lose 3 ships. Lapo looked between them. The storm is splitting us, Senara said. Maru nodded. Aye. The rootstaff warmed in its lash near the mast. Senara did not reach for it. Lapo did. She caught his wrist. It can show us, he said. It can show something. That may be enough. That is how it gets in. His eyes burned. People are out there. I know. My friends are out there. I know. Father's people. I know. Tavaro would go. The name struck like a wave over open wound. Senara's grip tightened on Lapo's wrist. Tavaro killed father in a room because his need outran his judgment. Do not use him as your rope. Lapo went still. Rain ran down both their faces. Then he said, softer, he also fought Vadruk. Yes. He followed after I told him not to. Yes. He is not only one thing. Senara had no clean answer. Lapo pulled his wrist free, not violently, carefully, like a man choosing not to become the thing he hated. He did not touch the staff. I know it is dangerous, he said. I also know we are blind. Maru looked at Senara. Veil. No sermon in it. No plea. Wind, hull, timing, lost. Maru's world had narrowed to what could still be steered. Riva came to stand beside Lapo. She did not look at the staff. She looked at Senara's hands. Use it if you must, Riva said. Then come back out. Senara looked at the wrapped wood. Oren had carried it back from the west. It had held Lapo's fever. It had made the Farbound brave. It had pressed certainty into crowds, grief, and her own tired hands. It had shown roads that might be true, and might be hunger wearing direction. It had saved the woman in the water. It had nearly swallowed Senara's doubt whole. A horn sounded far south. Then none. Maru's jaw tightened. Senara untied the staff. Green moved under the cloth at once. Not command, she told it. The staff cooled, not comfort. Cooler. Show me weather. The cloth flared. The deck vanished. Senara stood under black water. Above her, ships moved like shadows beneath a skin of storm. Around them, currents braided into roots. Some roots ended in broken wood, some in red cliffs, some in mouths, some in nothing. Green lines moved through them, branching, retreating, returning. She saw the second deep hull dragged north and righting itself in a trough. She saw the third deep hull with its mast gone, still afloat, pushed south by a current that would either save it from the worst wind or take it beyond all calls. She saw the cutter turned stern first toward a wall of rain. She saw a spar far behind with something clinging to it, too distant to name. The staff wanted her to name it. She did not. Then she saw a path, not safe. Safe had left with the harbour. A narrow road of less death ran east between 2 current routes, under a line of lightning, toward a low green glow, deep beneath the water. If the lead ship took it, it would keep the largest number together. If it turned south for the broken horn, the second hull would be lost. If it turned north, the third would vanish. If it stayed, the storm would roll it. The staff gave no words. That was more frightening than when it whispered. Senara opened her eyes. Maru waited. Lapo waited. Riva had one hand on Lapo's belt rope and one on the mast line. The lead ship groaned under the next swell. East, Senara said. Hard east for 3 breaths, then east by north. Horn twice, pause, twice again. Any ship that hears follows if it can. We do not turn back. Lapo's face went pale. Maru did not ask whether Senara was sure. She moved. The lead ship turned into the dark. Horns sounded twice. Pause. Twice. At first nothing answered. Then, faint through rain, one horn. Second, deep hull. Another, farther right. Cutter. Then, so far south Senara thought grief had invented it. One broken answer. Third hull. Alive, not held. Alive. The fleet scattered into the storm road. There was no glory in it. No grand line. No brave shape for singers. The ships staggered, slid, vanished, returned. The lead hull took waves over the bow until the deck became a place people endured rather than stood. The second, followed by horn and lightning. The cutter drifted wide, but kept answering. Outriders became rumors. Senara remained near the mast with the rootstaff in both hands and refused to let it make her certain. That was the hardest labor of the night. Harder than cutting. Harder than ordering mothers from children so weight could shift. Harder than telling a man his brother was gone. Because the rope had come back empty. The staff kept offering ease. She kept saying no with her hands. By the deepest part of night, the storm began to loosen, not end. End was too generous. It opened gaps between blows. Rain thinned from wall to sheet. Thunder moved farther off. The sea still heaved, black and furious. But the waves no longer arrived from every direction at once. The lead ship lived. That was the first count. The second deep hull answered. That was the second. The cutter answered late. Third, one outrider came close enough to hail, and reported another behind it with half a sail, and too many injured. 5, no sign of the third deep hull. No sign of 3 outriders. No sign of the remaining guideboat. Lapo stood beside Senara, slate ruined, tally carved into memory because charcoal had failed hours ago. His hands bled where rope had opened the skin. Riva tore cloth from her own sleeve and wrapped them without asking. "Say them," Senara said. Lapo shook his head. "Say them." His voice came flat. Lead hull, second hull, cutter. Maru's near outrider, broken outrider behind. Unknown. Third hull, unknown, east guide. Unknown. North outrider. Unknown. South outrider. Unknown. Third rear outrider. Unknown is not dead. No, it is not alive. No. His mouth tightened. He was learning. She hated every lesson. Maru came to them slowly. The cut at her head had bled through the wrapping again. Her voice had gone hoarse from horn and command. "We cannot search until first grey." Senara looked at the sky. It was black, but less black. Dawn was somewhere beyond it, hiding. "We hold the road," Senara said. "What road?" Maru asked. Senara looked down at the rootstaff. It had gone cool. For once the coolness frightened her more than heat. Before she could answer, the water ahead changed. Green light opened under the sea. Not from the staff, not from any ship. It glowed far below the surface. A branching line through black water, soft and steady as roots beneath glass. It curved eastward beyond the storm chop. Rain touched the surface above it and seemed to vanish into calm. Lapo drew in a breath. Riva's hand closed on the rope at her waist. Maru whispered a word too old for Senara to know. All across the lead ship, exhausted bodies lifted their heads. Wounded people turned. Children stopped crying. Sailors leaned toward the rail, faces lit from below by green. Senara gripped the rootstaff. This time it did not warm. It only answered with a faint pulse, recognition. The green beneath the water widened into a road. After blood, storm, Vadrak, scattered ships, dead names, and every choice that had led them into the dark, relief rose inside Senara so sharply it hurt. She did not call it salvation. Her hands tightened anyway.
Senara felt the wrong wave rise before the black rain came. The ship breathed out a frame. The wounded started breathing bad. The children turned sea green. Lapo caught the bucket first and held a small boy's scream. Ships first, she said, people next, bodies now, names after. Grief can walk when given work, even through disaster. Storm road, no safe song tonight. Hold the rope and count the breath, keep the living inside. Storm road, green fire under rain. Do not let the wood command, do not dress fear as faith. Tomorrow came with bloodied head and weather in her mouth. West would break them into knots, so ugly, pointed south. Senara tied the captain's wound while the deck began to lean. Lie after you steer, she said, and wiped the red cloth clean. Then the wave came chest high cold and took her from the mast. The rootstaff tore from lashing rope and slid toward open back. She caught it at the broken rail. Green burned through the cloth. A road appeared beneath the sea. Then death showed what it cost. Storm road, no safe song tonight. Hold the rope and count the breath, keep the living inside. Storm road, green fire under rain. Do not let the word command, do not dress fear as faith. It showed red stone, it showed black trees, or in hole beyond the tide. It showed Lapo drowning, the newborn sinking, Reva screaming with no sound inside. Full south, it whispered, now it cried. Trust the green beneath the wave. Senara open rain, blind eyes, and held the course Maru gave. She put the wrap staff in Lapo's hands. He shook beneath its glow. It knows my voice, he whispered. It sounds like Father Low. Whoever tightened his waist work with no blessing to pretend. Hold what you are holding, boy. Do not let it hold your hand. Then the east wave arose in dark. The lead hull climbed and fell to and over in the storm and vanished under swell. Storm road, no safe song tonight. Hold the rope and count the breath, keep the living in sight. Storm road, bring fire under rain. Do not let the wind command, do not trust fear as faith. Senara drove the staff to deck and green crossed water wide. The drowning turned toward rope and plank and panic stepped aside. Then every pulse came through her skin, every wound and frightened breath. Perfect count and perfect ruler, healer's perfect death. Reva caught her as she fell. Breathe before the wood. Senara tore the staff away and came back as she could. Storm road, no safe song tonight. Hold the rope and count the breath, keep the living inside. Storm road, green fire under rain. Do not let the wood command, do not dress fear as faith. The horns broke wide across the storm. One lost, one south, one gone.